Hi, I'm Mark Edwards. Welcome to Travelogue and welcome to Qingdao, where they like to ha pijiu and che gala, which is local dialect for drink beer and eat clams. It's a city of almost 3 million people who are blessed to be by the sea and with temperatures that rarely exceed 30 degrees. There's a whole pantheon of tourist attractions, historical, cultural things for us to see. So let's go discover it.
Well, it's a lovely Sunday morning and the perfect time to go and check out morning services at the Protestant church in Qingdao. Built in 1910, it was the first German church in the city. The Jidu Jiaotang, as it's known in Chinese, is one of Qingdao's quieter and more interesting sites. Although recently renovated, this church still retains most of its original style and charm. But what's even more impressive, as you'll find out if you make it in time for the service, is the sheer volume of people in attendance. The reason people are sitting on every available patch of ground is that the church is quite simply packed to the rafters inside, despite its seating capacity of over 1,000 people. The Jidu Jiaotang is an elegant structure featuring a red tiled roof and a clock tower, complete with a clock that still keeps the time. As timepieces were rare in China in the old days, the local residents relied on this clock to check the time, which explains the popular name for the church, the Clock Tower. Anyway, don't worry if you can't make it inside, as there are speakers on the outside, so everyone can enjoy the service.
My home is London, and basically I'm now living in Qingdao. So
You're living
my home now is Qingdao.
Your home is, you're now living in Qingdao,
Yeah.
and you're fully Dutch or?
No, half Dutch, half Welsh.
Half Welsh, like me.
I understand your father is Welsh.
Yes.
And speaks Welsh.
Yeah.
In which case I have something to say for your father.
What is that?
15 pop size.
Which means?
You don't want to know.
Okay. That's it. How long have you been attending the service here at the church for?
Since I come here 3 years ago.
3 years
every
ago.
week.
And is it always this packed?
No, it's usually more busy.
I can't believe that. Really?
Yeah. Usually you have to come at least 20 minutes before, otherwise you will not get a seat.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible. I couldn't believe there were people actually sat outside listening to the service.
Christmas time you have to come 2 hours before, and there'll be 400-500 outside.
Wow.
Yeah. The beautiful thing is they're building a new church, which is going to be 10 times the size of this.
To accommodate all the people?
Yes, and that still is not enough.
Wow, and you mentioned that they were bringing in, there's going to be a new organ here as well.
Yeah, there's the original organ, which was unfortunately destroyed, and it's cost 4 million to bring it, and it's going to be built in Germany, and it's an exact replica, and it's going to come back to this church. And it's going to be beautiful to hear organ music in the church again.
Incredible.
The church not only welcomes tourists, but it's also available for weddings. It's even got a choir to add some harmony to your favourite hymns. In Chinese, of course. We were lucky enough to witness a wedding at the church. These days in China, many of the wedding rituals resemble those in the West. There are similarities with the ceremony and the clothing worn, although a fireworks finale remains an important element of most Chinese weddings. While there may not be any fireworks displayed today, there's still most definitely a show. On the old Pichai Yuan, you'll be able to come for a cup of tea, some nibbles or a full-on meal, whilst the performance takes place in front of you. Once the band begins to whip everyone up into a frenzy, you'll get a real sense of being involved in the local lifestyle. These shows take place throughout the weekend, giving you that authentic taste of Chinese opera. For those who really appreciate this uniquely Chinese form of musical theatre, it's all about the expressions on the actors' faces, combined with the music illustrating the story. Along with the Greek tragic comedy and Indian Sanskrit opera, Chinese opera is one of the oldest dramatic art forms in the world. It can trace its roots back around 1400 years to when the first opera troupe was formed by the Tang Dynasty Emperor Taizong. Many of the stories played out are timeless, which is why you'll find so many of the older generations tapping or singing along. Don't worry if you don't understand what's going on though. Most of the locals get their knowledge from watching these performances over and over again. Just in case you need a few pointers, however, try and identify the characters by the colour of the paint on their faces. Red stands for loyalty and general goodness. Black stands for wisdom and bravery. Gold and silver represent the supernatural. Yellow and white represent cunning and treachery, and green and blue a rebellious streak, pride, cruelty, or a lack of self-control. Finally, the proportion of the face covered in the particular colour indicates the degree to which they embody that characteristic. But if nothing else, just enjoy the energy on and around the stage. We're still in the Pichaiyuan, but it's time to explore the streets.
So as you can see, this is the old street in Qingdao, filled with small stalls and restaurants, full of snacks and things to eat. Rather peckish at the moment. And it's really, obviously, I'm not sure we could translate across in the camera, but the smells coming out are delicious. And you go past a different restaurant and there seems to be a different smell coming from each one. Really fragrant. In all honesty, that's made me absolutely starving. I'm just smelling all of that stuff. I think we want to go and grab some food pretty soon. Oh, here. This is quite interesting. This essentially is the name of all the restaurants on the street, and the government will put in whether they find the restaurant great or just satisfactory. Good thing there doesn't seem to be any unhappy faces, so I'm pretty sure it's just great food, good food and great food as well.
Back in Roman times, there was a famous saying that all roads lead to Rome. Well, you wouldn't be far wrong if you changed the moniker in China to all roads lead to food. In Qingdao in particular, you'll find that seafood, quite logically due to its coastal location, is the main protagonist in the local diet. First established in 1902, the Pichai Courtyard, as it's known, cultivated its fame through serving an array of delicious dishes, but with a distinctly local flavour. And as you'll see, in terms of food, not much has changed.
So for those of you that are worried coming to Qingdao that all you're going to get to eat is seafood, fear not. We're in the snack street and you can find absolutely everything here. Of course there is seafood, but plenty more as well. Now let me explain what we've got here. Essentially you've got to visualize what you're going to eat. So here we've got the main ingredients. Pick the ingredients you want, then they'll stick it in the kitchen and cook it in whichever way.
Though seafood is abundant here, you can eat all sorts of dishes that reflect the Shandong Cuisine style. Shandong Cuisine is characterized by quick frying, stir frying, braising, and deep fat frying. The food tends to be crisp, tender, delicious, and greasy, with some sweet and sour flavors. As you might guess, Shandong dishes can be a little salty, as salt is the main condiment used in cooking, although fermented soybeans and soy sauce also feature. Though it primarily attracts tourists and locals with its mouth-watering food, it has also developed into an entertainment area. These days, you can find more than 60 shops, hotels, stores and restaurants here, as well as the street performers. But this isn't just a gastronomic haven. Culturally and architecturally, there's plenty to be done around here. You'd be surprised at the number of people who actually come to Qingdao primarily for the European architecture found throughout the city. But do spare some time to take in the Chinese architecture. If you're familiar with the hutongs and courtyard houses of Beijing, you'll notice how different the everyday lives of the Qingdao people would have been throughout the 20th century. Back then, many families would have been living in this building with a central shared courtyard, unlike their single family counterparts in Beijing.
So I've arrived in one of the typical courtyard homes that you can find in Qingdao. Typical in that it has the same courtyard feeling as the Siheyuan in Beijing. However, they've melded together the slightly finer aspects of European architecture with Chinese architecture. So you'll find a tree in the middle, same rectangular shape, but stories built up above each other. And this is where back in the day, the middle classes would have lived.
If you try and do Qingdao architecture in a day, you'll find that your head will in all likelihood be in a spin by the end. From elegant 20th century flats to regal cathedrals bang smack in the middle of town. Qingdao is arguably a city of polar opposites, melded together by a European influence that is deeper here than almost anywhere else in China.